Step 1 of the setup checklist involves setting your budget parameters. The finance budget section here on the left hand side will show you your total Vivo account balance. So this is where you can monitor all your finance information in regards to your account with us. You'll be able to see there your total account balance, and then in the current position section on the left you can see total Vivos purchased, so in this case 100,000 Vivos or $1,000 worth at 1 cent per Vivo. The total Vivos awarded so far is 8,101. 60 Vivos are reserved, so the reserve section will reserve Vivos for those staff that you have produced credit coupon books for, so you can issue credit coupons for particular staff members for particular categories, and they can be handing those out on a school trip or in the playground, perhaps where students can take them and redeem them using a unique code online. More of that is explained in step 6 of the setup checklist in the modules overview section. And the average per week is also calculated by the system here, so as you go along and you're rewarding away, the system will let you know at all times the average you're rewarding. On the right hand side you'll see school shop purchases. You can add items to the Vivo shop supplied by the school yourself, so it might be school merchandise or tickets for a local event that the school may have sourced, or discounts to a disco, for example, school disco. So you can provide all of those in the school shop, and as the students are purchasing them they'll be tallied up here, and at the end of each term we reimburse you for those either via cheque, or you can have the Vivos put back into your main school account if you wish to. The reason why, of course, is because you're supplying the goods and you've already prepaid for your Vivos in your account, so we don't want you to be paying twice, so reimbursement is needed for those particular items that you're selling in the shop. Transaction history, it will show you all your purchases of Vivo invoices. So as you purchase those you'll be able to see your invoice number, the date purchased, the description of the invoice, the total quantity of Vivos purchased, and the total amount in Australian dollars showing there as well, so you can keep a track record of all your purchases there. Any invoices that are cancelled will also show as well, and any complimentary Vivos that are ever issued to your account will also show there as well. Moving on now to the budget section. The budget section will show quite a bit of information in regards to getting your account started and ready to go. So if you don't have this set up correctly or don't have any dates set up here, you won't be able to use the system. So the system is only usable once you've set your budget parameters and allocated your Vivo budget out. So the way it works is you set a start date and an end date. So if you decide, for example, as this school has, to launch Vivo on the 23rd of January 2012, so they set the start date as that date. The start date must always be a Monday, the end date a Sunday, just in order to encompass a full week. So the end date in this case is the 9th of December. So you set your dates accordingly, and we've purchased 100,000 Vivos, so for this period we're going to stretch the 100,000 Vivos out over this time period we've chosen. And as you eat into the Vivo, so as you're rewarding away during the school year, they'll tally up on the right hand side here. So far we've rewarded only 8,161. 8.16% of our budget has been used, so the 100,000. So the total you've purchased will need to be entered into the Vivos available to staff section. This is basically saying that you're giving the whole school pot, you're making it accessible to all staff. So they'll still be limited by their weekly budget amounts that you give them, but you need to put the amount of Vivos in total that you've purchased into this box here and click update when you're finished, so that way the system knows that this is the amount of Vivos I want to use between this time period, and it will then activate your account ready to go then. You can automatically stop staff rewarding if the budget is exceeded, so if this amount gets to 99,999, staff won't be able to reward anymore, so they'll get an error message then, and you'll need to come in and add more Vivos into here, or top up your account, or change the dates if the end date has expired. Allow staff to reward if budget is exceeded can be selected as well, but I'd highly recommend leaving it on the automatically stop staff rewarding if budget is exceeded option. You'll see your balance again, so you can keep an eye on that in this screen as well, and click update once you've made your selections and added in your Vivos, and your account will then be activated and ready to be used. You'll have a small analysis at the bottom of the page as well. So in this case, we're currently 25% into our budget period because we're now into mid-April. And we've used 8.16% of our Vivo budget, so the 8,161 Vivos out of the 100,000. And we're currently rewarding an average of about 176 a week. So as that fluctuates up and down, the system will let you know whether you'll have a surplus or a deficit at the end of your budget period. So because this amount's quite low in this case, the average will have a surplus come the 9th of December of 67,590 Vivos. So of course that amount will go up or down depending on how much your average spend goes up and down. If the system says you have a budget surplus, then I'd recommend possibly looking at maybe increasing your staff allowances on a weekly basis, or perhaps even increasing the amounts you're allowing for your reward categories, because you'll have a little bit of extra to spend there. If it's stating that you'll have a deficit, then it looks like you're overspending, so you may need to reduce the staff average week amounts down that they're being given to spend, and you may also need to look at possibly reducing the amounts you're giving to your reward categories to reward students. We have a budget tool also to help you spread your budget out over the time period. So you can come to the Tools tab and click on Download Budget Wizard Spreadsheet, and this will open for you. And this is basically a spreadsheet calculator we've put together in order for you to spread your budget out evenly over a particular time period. So you can add your staff roles and things like that into the sheet, and it basically breaks down the amount you've got to spend on Vivos over the school year, and allows you to see whether you're going to have any deficit or not to perhaps spend on other things there. So we'll just wait for this to download. While that's downloading, also don't forget that you will need to make sure that you're keeping an eye on your Vivo budget as well. So just come in here fairly regularly, or maybe even give access to your school finance person, just to make sure you're keeping an eye on everything, and that the analysis is looking healthy and you're not overspending or underspending and things like that, and your dates are all okay. So I'd recommend keeping an eye on it as much as possible. Okay, so here's our spreadsheet. So once you've downloaded that from the website, you'll be able to come in here now and look at this. So we'll just make it a bit smaller, like so. Okay, so basically you'll put in your total budget in dollars. So we'll use the the $1,000 budget that we had for our example school. And just say, for example, there's 38 weeks in a school year. So you'll add the school weeks in that you wish to calculate on. So you might only want to calculate for 1 or 2 terms in the school year. So you can put the required number of weeks on if you want, if you've got $1,000 to spend per term, for example. But depending on what you want to do, you can do it for a whole school year as well. So it's up to you. You can customize it as you wish. So as it says at the top, please use this wizard below to help you allocate your Vivo budget effectively. Anything in red is altered by you. Green must equal green, orange must equal orange, and blue indicates the error difference if these do not match. So explaining as we go down, we've got $1,000 to spend over 38 weeks. That's 100,000 Vivo. So once you enter in the $1,000 in the red, hit enter, and that will populate the Vivo amount for you. Number of weeks, so 38. This includes 6 half terms. So as we know in Australia, we don't have half-term breaks, so you won't be able to use that. So you can delete that out. Number of staff users, let's say 50 in this case. We'll make it a bit of a smaller amount, and we'll say 500 students. Attendance will delete out as well, because that's for the auto attendance feature, which isn't available at the moment in Australia. And then down the bottom, you can add your staff amounts. So let's say principal, and general teacher and librarian, for example. So these will need to add up to 50. So green must equal green. So we'll make this 40, and we'll make this 9 just as an example. So I know there won't be 9 principals, but just using it as an example. So you might have a sort of a senior leadership team or a senior team within the school, so it might include your assistant principal, your principal, and perhaps heads of your years. So we've got 50 equaling 50 here, so you can put whatever roles you want. You might want to set up a principal role, general teacher, librarian. You might want to set up a head of house or head of year role, anything like that, any particular role and budget you want to assign to a particular staff member. And then basically you just need to go through and play around with the weekly budgets. So we need to reduce these down quite considerably in order to bring the amount down below, down to a reasonable level. Okay, so you just keep playing around with it as much as you can. If you want to leave sort of extra Vivos to spend, you can do so. As we've got quite a small budget here, the amount needs to come down quite a bit. So 55. Okay, so we've got it down to about 37. So even if you play around with it a bit more, so we make this 51, you've got 3 that you'll be short, so we can make this 97. Okay, so we've got 0 there. So that means that over the 38 school weeks, you've got $1,000 to spend, 100,000 Vivos divided by 50 school teachers. So you've spread those roles out there, so you can afford to give 55 Vivos a week to spend to the 9 senior staff members. 51 a week, for example, to spend for 40 general teachers, and 97 a week can be spent with the librarian, and that'll show you not having any left over. So in order to effectively, if you want to get a bit of a surplus to spend, perhaps you want to reward some students, you'll need to reduce these amounts down probably a little bit more, and then it'll leave you then with a surplus of say 792 Vivos. So you might want to reward those to some students throughout the year for helping at parent teacher night or something like that. So you can give yourself a bit of a surplus if you need to in this case. So then you can save that or email it or print it, whatever you like. That's your spreadsheet to keep hold of. You may have in your own mind, so discussing amongst yourselves in the school the budget and how you want to spread it out. But this is purely here to help you work everything out if you need to. So you can download that at any time from the tools option. If you have any more questions about that, your account manager will certainly be able to help you. Moving on to step 2 now, which will be deleting any unnecessary staff from the initial integration with your management information system.